something that's natural and involved in your consciousness. Which brings me to, you ask, why are we in this situation? So I have a paper online that you might be interested in, and I'll go over it quickly for you. It's called The Biology of Democracy. So, because cannabinoids are regulating everything, one of the everythings that they wind up regulating is essentially the ability to relearn something. In other words, to get new information and to come to a new conclusion based on new information. This is essentially open-mindedness. All right? So it's inevitably true that in a population, you're going to have an average amount of cannabinoid activity with respect to that one parameter, open-mindedness. And you're going to have people who are above average and people who are below average. All right? Now let's put together some other pieces of information. People who use cannabis are typically optimistic. What does optimism mean? It means you look into the future with a positive thought. You are willing to embrace the unknowns and deal with it effectively. All right? Whereas people who can't rewire because they don't have the biochemical machinery, they're reduced in endocannabinoid activity, they don't want to look into the future because that means they might have to adjust. They want to look backwards, because then they know what's already happened. They don't have to rewire, and they're not biochemically equipped to rewire. We're talking on a statistical level, and nobody's all one way or the other. We're talking about the likelihood of coming to decisions based on new information, et cetera, right? I mean, Bush might be a rare exception. He might have no capacity to relearn, but that's because too much alcohol and cocaine, destroys neurons, and you can't always regenerate them. Regeneration, by the way, is regulated by endocannabinoids. So where I'm going is this. You have a group of people who are lower in endocannabinoid activity with respect to open-mindedness. They tend to look backwards because then they don't have to readjust and relearn things. They're going to share a common vision. The common vision is what's already happened. We want to maintain the status quo. Whereas the cannabinoid-endowed people, who are also the people who enjoy pot because it fits with their wiring, they embrace the unknown, they embrace the future, they agree to disagree. But they don't have the unity of thought. Who's more likely to get in government and to gain power? The backwards-looking people. I call them blips, backwards-looking people versus flips, forward-looking people. All right? So what are the consequences of this? This is really now very, very profound. If our government, in fact, is overrepresenting blips, backward-looking people, and they've made the laws that are arresting 880,000 Americans last year for marijuana, mostly for possession, or 20 million since the moron Nixon started the drug war. What's going on here? There are a couple of real interesting little facts. All right, historically, 100 years ago, people were dying from infectious diseases. So, under those conditions, you might not like to turn off the inflammatory arm of the immune system. Pot can kill you. If you have tuberculosis, Legionella's disease, certain illnesses that really require a strong inflammatory immune response, you would not want to use pot. You'd be stupid to use pot. And I would imagine it could kill. And I'm a big supporter of appropriate use.
Because then it inhibits the
immune response.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right. But today, we are no longer dying in this country from infectious diseases. We die from age-related illnesses. And those age-related illnesses are caused by the free radicals that are part of the inflammatory response. So we need to turn down the inflammatory response so that we can minimize our age-related illnesses. By the way, all of which are benefited by cannabis use. Why? Because it delays the severity and onset, because you're minimizing the cause. It's not just symptomatic. It's really... it goes deeper than that. So what we need from the point of view of longevity, healthcare, exploding healthcare costs, is not more pharmaceuticals. We need to take advantage of this plant that has these incredible properties of tapping in uniquely to our endocannabinoid system. There's nothing else that really taps in to that level. The only thing that does a little bit of it is echinacea, which people use as an immune booster, and it taps into an aspect of the immune response that's regulated by a subset of cannabinoid activity. All right. So right there, that alone should say we need more cannabis in our population. But let's take it a step further now. man's impact on the environment due to overpopulation and our philosophy of basically use, which is really abuse. You know, we have one-way streets where we manufacture and we throw away, manufacture, throw away, we pollute along the way. This is all unconscious. This is stupidity, which you could get away with when you didn't have as many people and have, you know, the tremendous throughput that we have today. We're impacting our environment in a way where we could literally make ourselves extinct. So what we need to have are policymakers who are endowed with cannabinoids, who can look at new data as it comes in and make intelligent decisions, even if it requires rewiring and coming to new decisions. So basically what I'm saying is for mankind's survival, we need to replace the old paradigm where kind of aggressive, narrow-minded, backwards-looking people ruled our country, and replace them with intelligence and dynamic intelligence, where we're taking in new information and we're processing it. We're doing the best we can rather than just shutting down and saying, this is the way it's got to be because that's the way it was. Now we have to say, well, you know, we're in a predicament. How are we going to deal with this? We don't know really all the answers, and we never will. But we want to try to work together to do the best that we can for our own survival. We can't, essentially, this drug war is a war of genetics, of the cannabinoid defective people trying to arrest the cannabinoid endowed people and keep them from reproducing. We're dealing with a fundamental genetic battle here. And if you look from an evolutionary point of view, as evolution proceeded, the cannabinoid system kept taking on a greater and greater role. You know, that's why it regulates everything. So if we extrapolate into the future, we should expect it to take on a greater role as well. But we can't do that quick enough genetically. So the only solution is we need more cannabis in our culture, in our society, in the biochemistry of humanity.
And you know, I've done a little bit of looking into some of the other benefits besides the medicinal benefits of the plant. For instance, you know, using oil from the seeds, using the fiber from the plant for textiles and like bioplastics and things like that. For me, my own personal opinion is that hemp can save the world.
I agree with you. Jack Herer's book is true.
Now that's The Emperor Wears
The Emperor Wears, yeah. Okay. Fuel, fiber, medicine, food. It's right there.
So then, why?
Blips are running the country.
Okay.
That's why.
And so
you'll see that makes, when you look at things from that perspective, everything makes sense. And what that is a call to action for all the cannabinoid endowed people. We've got to get off our asses, get off that stoner couch, and get involved in making the change that will allow us to survive.